It's a goal! Can you believe it? It's extraordinary.
Blues are now 5 and 2 under David Teague. I mean, it's hard to actually believe you can make a change and things can turn around so quickly.
It's a good time to be a caretaker coach right now, isn't it? I mean,
Caretaker's the new black.
Yeah, Rhys Shaw, David Teague, and of course Brett Ratten, who you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible how they've managed to rejuvenate their groups.
And Hamish, on that graphic, obviously any time Carlton plays Adelaide for this year, or if the teams win or lose, we always reflect back to this trade that was made last year during the draft period. And firstly, it's unfair on Liam Stocker.
Terrible to be involved in this.
Yeah, exactly. So he got picked. He's a talented player. They all rate him as a first-round pick, so they did the right thing and they went and got him. But this is how it's playing out at the moment, the update after the wins and losses going on. So obviously Carlton got pick 19, 2018, Liam Stocker. Based on their current ladder position, Adelaide's first-round pick is 11, Carlton's first-round pick is 3, and it gets swapped over.
Right.
So did I explain that okay?
Yes.
I do. I understand all that.
Yeah, the first two minds that come to you, the first two people that come to your head when thinking about annoying teammates is the double Curnow, and Govs Mo. It's not great.
Let's have a look at Carlton Adelaide. 1 and 10 the Blues. Then in steps David Teague. 6 and 12, 5 from the last 7.
Yep, the Crows got off to a flying start with the first 2 goals of the game, but my boys were able to get the momentum back to lead by 4 points after Cripps and Curnow had an unbelievably good first quarter with 15 disposals and a goal for 15 disposals and 13 disposals respectively. Second quarter, we continued on our way to lead by 22 points at half time, which is a great result. Moving on to the third quarter, the Blues were able to get 2 goals. The Crows replied with 2, but were able to get to a 22-point three-quarter time lead and got the first at the last. And then Will Setterfield finishing it off with this very nice snap here to get us up and the win by 27 points. The 3 things I learnt, I already knew these, but Phillips and Cripps combo was...
Sharing your knowledge.
was an absolute match winner for us in terms of the clearance and the contested possession battle. Cripps' game was absolutely massive, and Phillips with the hit-outs to advantage was awesome. Second point that I learnt was our small forwards and our ability to put pressure on the Crows was telling throughout the game, and this is a bit of a last one. My third point is I'm putting a lobbying forward for Will Setterfield to get the Rising Star nomination this week. He was unbelievably good yesterday, able to keep both their wingers down to low possessions and able to play an unbelievably good game himself.
You've got some Giants now playing. You seem to have got who you wanted from the Giants, and now you've whittled it down to the players that can really impact.
Yeah, a lot of the trades that were documented about us stealing from basically all of the Giants players, we got the ones we wanted. The guys that we really wanted was sort of Plowman, Setterfield, Marchbank. So we were able to get those guys in on our list, and with that got some guys that we were able to try and have a good look at, and some of them have stayed on. Like Phillips as I just said, was really good. Another one of the Giants players we probably got through one of the deals. So we're still hopefully... We've done a good job so far, and hopefully those boys can continue their career at Carlton for a long time.
Patrick Cripps, 39 disposals, 19 clearances, which is the second or equal second record next to Paul Salmon, who'd had 22 in a game since this stat has been recorded. Do you just sometimes sit back and just watch in awe of what he can actually do? Yeah,
he's an absolute freak, to be honest. His ability to win the contested possession and clearances is the best I've ever seen, and he is chasing that record. He does want that 22.
He's aware of it, isn't he?
Well, he wasn't until Ed Curnow got the 16 against Freo, and they flashed up to their top 10. Ed Curnow was just sitting one underneath Cripper. Cripper's 17 was his best, and that's where he found out that 22 was the lead. And I think he'll knock it over at some stage by the end of his career.
Sam, big Levi Casbolt, he's been a forward. He's been much maligned for his goal kicking, which he's really straightened out. But he seems to be playing with a new freedom under David Teague. And has that got to do with him playing a bit more up the ground and in the ruck?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things. His form sort of started turning around when he was able to play backline for sort of a 3 or 4 week period when we lost Jonesy through that period. So he sort of got a bit of form and a bit of confidence through that, and he's a confidence player. So he's now going forward. He's playing at full forward, and he's jumping at the ball really well. And you can tell the presence he's got on the field, and being able to play in the ruck as well as our second ruckman is a big advantage for us because he's a really good second ruck. So it's all coming together for him, and that's showing in terms of his goal kicking. He's finishing really well.
Over the last 7 weeks, with under David Teague. It just looks like there's a renewed hunger and ferociousness, and the pressure seems to have increased. Has that been a real focus? Have you noticed that shift?
Yeah, there's been a subtle change in the way we played our footy. We're trying to play the ball more in our forward half and being able to lock it in there, which is playing to our strengths. We've got a really good tall forward line. We've got smalls that can chase and tackle. Our midfielders around the contest can get the ball forward. So we've been able to get the ball forward, pin it in our forward half, and that's been able to get to work. And offensively, we've been able to open up the ground a little bit more when we've got the ball.
Hashtag Teague 2020 is officially trending at the moment. I've got Blues fans that say he's the guy we want. I'm not sure whether or not the board were thinking he would be the caretaker and they would go and get a big fish. What does he give the playing group? I mean, we spoke about Levi Casbolt, but everyone looks confident. Everyone looks like they've got belief. How does he give that to them?
I think there's a couple of things with Teague. Teague's ability to stay exactly the same as what he was as an assistant to senior has been one of his best points. He's sometimes when you see guys get the senior role, they sort of subtly change, but he's a relationships-based coach. He's very good at telling you what you can do versus what you can't do, and he fills you with belief and basically just tells you how good you are all the time. So that
even
subtly goes to the
is
game.
positive, I'm told.
Yeah, even the way he delivers it is just it tells you that you're not doing something that you should be doing, but then he fills you with confidence on the back end of it to make you go in confident, like you want to be able to compete and do it at a high level. So. No, he's going really well. He's obviously the results are speaking for themselves. 5 out of 7 when we haven't won a lot of games for a number of years. So he's coaching really well, and the boys are running with it.
Just out of interest, have you spoken to Brendan Bolton at all?
I spoke to him a few weeks back. He's actually been away. I'm probably due to give him a call actually in the next few weeks. But I would like to clear up a few comments that I made. I did an interview a while back after speaking to him. I said he's not going great, and that's probably not the case. I think what I meant to say was if you lose your job after putting so much time and effort and care into it, obviously no one's going to be in the best mood after leaving their job. But he's actually in a good space and looking forward, and I hope he gets another job at another footy club and stays in the footy landscape, because he's a very good coach. He was unbelievable to me as a player. So I wish him all the best. But he's been on a trip with his family to Bali, so he's got away refreshed and then come back and hopefully plan his future going forward.
So from one coach to another, let's hear from Don Pyke. The Crows, they're 9-9, but it was a pretty ordinary loss.
Disappointing day, wasn't it? Yeah, we were putting my credit to Carlton. They played well, but we were poor. We looked like we had low energy, and clearly at the moment we're playing with pretty low confidence.
So where do you think the Crows go, Jimmy, now? The selections were made. Eddie Betts was dropped. Alex Keith, I still can't quite understand whether he was injured or rested. Douglas is playing in the Sandful. There seems to be a lot of noise suddenly around the disenfranchised supporters and players.
Yeah, because there's always concern about when players get over the age of 30 who've taken you up the ladder to a grand final, how long do you run with those guys who've been tried and true and you back them in compared to trying something new? So that's the difficulty they've got with their list at the moment. Do you keep rolling out the same stuff, or do you try and find players on your list who can add something different? If you don't think you can do that, that means you have to go get them, whether that be draft, trade, free agency. The selections, I'm a bit like you. You're sort of looking at them, scratching your head. If they win, there's no argument about it. But the fact is they lost again in pretty much in the same manner they have in recent weeks. Now, Eddie Betts is the big talking point. Now, he's their leading goal kicker. He's kicked 32 from 17 games. He sits in the top 10 on the Coleman. You're vying for that spot in the 8. Was the timing right? I think that's only Adelaide will know. And the Alex Keith one is the most interesting one, because if he was rested, he was the travelling emergency. So if someone got crook or ate something wrong at the buffet the night before, he's playing.
You're either resting him or you're not. You can't sort of...
Yeah. So if you've got him in that position, and again, you're challenging for the 8, he's been probably your best player probably for the whole year. He's vying for an All-Australian selection.
Yep.
Isn't that the time to play him? But then is he injured a couple of weeks? Just be up front with us. And Hugh Greenwood, for me, I know he hasn't been in the best form, but they need some difference in their midfield. They just keep going with the same look every time, and sides just keep spinning numbers through them. And that's where they get caught out in the second half of games particularly.
Nat, South Australia loves their football and they love their two teams.
It's a bubble.
Yeah, and they are angry at the moment over there.
Yeah, they are very angry. Lots of pressure on not only Ken Hinkley at Port Adelaide, but Don Pyke, obviously, after yesterday. Plenty of talk that potentially he has lost the players. He's still got 2 years left to run on his contract. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. We're hearing that Mark Rosciuto, who's obviously on the board, has been canvassing the players and their feelings about what's going on at Adelaide at the moment, but certainly pressure is mounting on Don Pyke. All right, let's talk about the SANFL, and we know that Eddie Betts was dropped for the first time. This is his first SANFL appearance for the Crows. 14 disposals, 3 tackles, 2 marks, but more importantly, 4 goals. He hit the scoreboard, so a really good performance there from Eddie, the veteran. So it'll be interesting to see what Don Pyke does with selection. As we know, Eddie's not the only one playing in the SANFL at the moment. You've got Richard Douglas, Sam Jacobs, Bryce Gibbs had 40 touches in the SANFL. He's been dropped 4 times this season. And of course, Hugh Greenwood as well playing in the SANFL. So it's really interesting to see what happens with selection. There is talk that Don Pyke, the coach, has lost the players. This was Don talking yesterday after the match when he was asked about players being dropped and it affecting their morale.
I don't know whether people perceive that as, meaning everyone's on notice, if you like, and clearly that's not the intention behind the selection decisions. It's more based on what we think is the best team to play and win games of footy. So we'll explore that. I'm not sure that the difference between, say, Tyson and Eddie was necessarily going to be the difference. So we'll consider what that looks like for selection next week.
Really curious to see what selection is like next week for the Adelaide Crows.